Noise and Sunlight. Welcome to day 5 of DIY or Die, where we make a Halloween inspired DIY project every day in the month of October. And today we are going to go floral. We're getting into our cottagecore, creepy cottagecore vibes. And we're gonna make some pumpkins, we're gonna make a candle, and we're gonna make some wall hanging ghosts, all with the help of our good crafting friend Mod Podge. So all of these projects are going to be painting and Mod Podging. We have some faux flowers. It's going to be really fun. We're going to make a lot of really beautiful floral, cottagey, garden inspired Halloween decor. So I'm really excited to share this one with you. Let's dive in. So for supplies, we're going to need some pumpkins that you can cover, paint, whatever. These are 2 options that I got from the thrift store. We'll probably use this one today. I just wanted to show you another option. These were both 99 cents. This was originally from, I want to say from, Joann's, rest in peace, but ended up at the thrift store. And then this pumpkin is left over from our wreath project from day 2. So if you haven't watched that, I will share that above. And then this guy, I picked up at Michael's over Labor Day weekend. It was on like 60% off or something. It does light up, which is kind of cool. There is an artist who inspired me to do this project, and I'm hoping by the time that I edit and post this video, I can find her again. I thought I had it saved on my Instagram, and unfortunately, I don't. But she took a vintage bisque clay mold and makes those vintage like ghost lamps. I have one that is I found at Goodwill years ago, but this one is like a ghost holding a really cute pumpkin, and she does the pumpkin in 24 karat gold, and then she fires all of her ceramics. So she uses a kiln to fire all of her pottery. Obviously she's making it from scratch, and it's beautiful, and I really liked the idea of the ghost made out of like an old cottagey floral sheet. And so we're gonna do some things inspired by that today. She uses kiln stickers, which are like floral stickers that you put on, and that might not be the technical term for it, but you put them on and then put your pottery in the kiln, and it bakes them on and seals them in really well, and it's stunning. But because I don't have access to a kiln, I've taken many pottery classes, but don't have a kiln in my, down in the garage. We're gonna use some Mod Podge and some just decorative napkins that I got from a TJ Maxx or a Home Goods. I also tried to thrift those, and they were fairly difficult to find. People were doing this on candles all summer, so this is not reinventing the wheel. We're gonna hit it with some Mod Podge. We're gonna paint this to make different colored pumpkins, and then I'm going to get that kind of inspired by that artist. I really hope I can find her because I want to give credit where credit is due. And then I love a decorative candle. So I just picked this one up from the thrift store, but I feel like my family, when I was growing up, like late 90s, early 2000s, we always got a Halloween candle from like one of the local, honestly, I think it was Big Lots, and they used to have really cute Halloween candles. And I found this at the Goodwill, and it has the little ghosts on top, and it's never been burned. It's in fairly good condition. I feel like these get knocked off tables and get dented and messed up. So this was $2.99 at the Goodwill, and I had to bring it home, this little haunted house. So I love these molded candles. And then I found this little guy at Michael's, and he was again on clearance, and this one is battery operated, so we can actually light this one up. This one I will never light because I don't want to ruin it, but I thought, how beautiful would it be to cover him in pressed flowers and just kind of go like really natural. So that's what we have in store today. So I'm going to take all of the stickers off, and again, this was just a quick and easy thing to find at the Michaels. Okay. And this is just warming this white up a little bit. The stark white is not really a core color in the backgrounds of our napkins, and so when you cut them out, unless you're cutting it out perfect, which isn't really going to be possible with some of these stems, I just think it's going to look cleaner, and you won't have that noticeable outline around all of your flowers. All right, guys, so while this one dries, let's move on and multitask a little bit and work on our really cute ghost candles. We're gonna set this off to the side and bring this little guy into the screen. So I picked up some faux floral, or not faux, these are real, pressed florals is what I meant to say, off of Amazon. I will link them below, and I think I'm gonna use this color palette and then save these for later. I don't want the blue or the red. I might cut this open and get this one out just because it kind of has that pink hue. These ones are pretty, but these celosia in here are really, I don't know if you're gonna be able to tell on camera, but they're not flat. They have a lot of depth to them, and I think on this candle it's gonna look bizarre. So I love this like color palette. I think it's really pretty, but those are gonna need to be saved for later. So let's set those aside and then pop these open. We might need to go find a pair of scissors. Pause for scissors. So cut these open, and I want to keep them as flat as possible so they don't fly everywhere. And then we can, oh, didn't cut all the way. And then we can use the cute little tweezers that came with this kit to place them onto the candle. I love this one, this little starburst. So let's start with him. We're just gonna put down like a tiny bit of Mod Podge, and then take our little tweezers, pick him up maybe. Scoot him off the edge. There we go. Thinking it's looking really cute. I just want to fill in, which is why I wanted more of this style. And then I'm also cutting the ferns up, and I'm cutting up, I used one of the big pieces of greenery from here. But you can also, like I said, I'm finding it really useful to chop these up and use pieces rather than the full thing. Gotten to this stage, and I think it's super cute. I think it's unexpected, but I also think it's like something that you would kind of maybe find in like an anthropology. We do go all the way around because I hate when projects only have something like the good part on the front. So I am cleaning up the rest of this clutter, letting this dry, and then I'm gonna go back through. There's a few pieces that are still lifting, so I'm gonna go back and do another little round of Mod Podge on those. But for the most part, these have glued down fairly well. Some of these are a little raised, like this one has a little more dimension. I tried to use the ones that were gonna stay mostly flat so that it looked like they were kind of like in the wax rather than on top of the wax. But I have a few more flowers, so I'm gonna let this dry and maybe go fill in some of these little gaps with either little pieces of the fern or I really liked this one. I thought this was really pretty and it looks good on top of things. When you do it on the wax, the white flowers are kind of hard to see. So if you did this, you could try it on something that had, I don't know, this would be beautiful on like a green wax ghost, if that even exists. But I'm gonna throw a battery in this, we'll finish it up and I'll show you the final project. But can't wait to put a battery in this and put it with some books and display it. It'll be really cute. While everything else continues to dry, I figured we could start decoupaging this little pumpkin. So I'm sure if you are on any version of a crafting app, you have seen this process, and you take the napkin apart and you just are going to use the printed side. Napkins are usually, I mean, usually what people use for this, but you could also use printed tissue paper. It comes in a bigger pack, and you can probably get it for cheaper if you can find it. I was really hoping to find these thrifted, and I just could not. Step one is to cut out our squares. I was a little concerned about how this would go, cutting squares out and then putting them on a round pumpkin, but we are just going to do our best to make sure that everything lines up. You do want really sharp scissors for this project because otherwise you're just going to end up ripping it. And then we have our Mod Podge again. I'm still using the matte version. A clean paintbrush, dip it in. Cover your surface space, and then we're gonna try and line that up as center as possible and press it down. The cool thing about paper is that it actually has quite a bit of stretch to it, so you can really kind of force it to take these pumpkin, like the curves of the pumpkin. And don't use too much Mod Podge because you don't want to get you don't want it to start rippling really bad. Another thing, these pumpkins all have these stems come off. So I'm going to take that off so that I can go right up under the stem, and then I can put it back on later. This is what it looks like now. We have this bark finished, and then I think I'm going to cut out the middle portion. I think this is a marigold. So I'm going to cut that out with the stem and have the stem coming up between that in that corner and fill in the white space. So this was my tester to see if I liked it, if it was too much, but I think sitting on a shelf, I don't want this to look like Mackenzie Child's checkerboard. I want this to look like Delft tile in a cottage, and I think that is going to fill in that space. You still have the white space, so it's not so aggressively full, but it fills it in and continues the pattern a little bit. We have all of our little marigolds in the spaces, and I do think that really fills it up, and I'm really impressed by how even it looks. I was really worried about doing the squares on the pumpkin because obviously those shapes don't really work. But the top was really bugging me, and so I'm going to show you how I figured out how to finish out the top so it looks finished and as even as really possible, I think. So when I cut out the marigold for the white space for these ones, I'm left with this. So I went ahead and finished off cutting it out a little bit more, and then I continued our pattern up. I was noticing that you could tell that the pattern ended with this row, and I want it to look like it goes all the way into the stem. So then I just push this down like we have done with everything else. And then if we have any overhang, we don't want it to look messy. So I just then trim that off with my scissors, and we're kind of basically creating that square on the top that I wanted to, even though I couldn't really make it work. And then we have our stem, and the hole is right there, and so then that's our top. So it's not as, it's not perfect, but what if we did, now that it's cleaned up a little bit, what if we cut this out and did one graphic? Would that work? Just kind of trim off any extra white. I'm basically creating confetti as I cut all of these out. We have just all kinds of confetti down here now. So maybe I'll do that. And then it looks, yeah, that's the move. And then it doesn't look as messy. I did just drop my brush in my water though, so we're gonna have to use another brush. Okay. So now, there, that looks a little cleaner. I just want everything to look like something you would have bought and not like a jumbled hodgepodge mess. And that I think definitely looks much tidier. And then the stem right back in the center. So there we go. That looks a little better. The stem is off center too. So that's kind of unfortunate. I wish, I mean, I just poked a hole in it, but can I force this? No, no, that's where the stem lives. So there we go. That is our little pumpkin. I went ahead and painted the top green with the same eucalyptus paint because it matches the border of this basically perfectly. And then I'm excited about that because then technically these will also match, even though all the florals are going to be a little different. We can kind of do that like chaotic, like china. Like I love those walls that have all the plates on them with all the different china. It's not my personal style, but I appreciate when other people do it because it looks really pretty. And I think this gives kind of that same look where it's like a bunch of collected china plates on a wall, but in pumpkin form. So we're gonna do a dab of glue. And then go right in that seam and do another little dab of glue. We're gonna pull that taut. Bonus project. So sometimes I come up with things that are a little too simple for a whole video, but they're using the same materials that we're already using. And I think this is a really cute idea. So let's go ahead and make some wallpaper ghosts together. At least that's what I'm calling them. So I found these little wooden ghosts on sale last year after Halloween had ended, and I like to buy my craft supplies after the holiday and then I'll store it for the next year because it makes it really affordable to do it that way. But I was thinking about that saying, if walls could talk, and like all of the things a house has seen. In addition, obviously I thrift a lot. I have a lot of thrifted artwork and home decor, really a little bit of everything. And people ask me all the time if things that I bring home are haunted. And it's something that I think about a lot and joke about a lot as well. But it was making me think, like, what if there were ghosts in the walls? And then I was thinking like old Victorian or old like estate homes, how they have beautiful wallpaper, that if there are ghosts in the walls, they would be wearing these beautiful wallpapers. And I thought, well, we have to make our own wallpaper ghosts to hang on the walls because I kind of love that concept. So in addition to our candle, which is a ghost who wandered through a field and got covered in dry flowers, we're making a trio of wallpaper ghosts. So I found some scrapbook paper that looks like vintage wallpaper to me, and I wanted to just kind of cover these ghosts in a good layer of that scrapbook paper and then hang them on the wall. It's really that easy. I'm going to cut off the little black hangers on the top of them because I don't want to hang them that way, and then they're so lightweight, we'll just use a like one of those Velcro 3M Velcro strips to put it on the wall. And that's a wrap on day 5. I'm so excited how all of these projects turned out. This was a project-packed day, but they all go together so nicely, and I can't wait to see what you guys create. Don't forget to subscribe, like, follow on Instagram, do all of the things that you're supposed to do. But mostly, I just hope you guys are really enjoying these projects, and I hope to see you guys back tomorrow for day 6.